So this begins when Eve arrives from the hospital after being severely injured to help out in the fight against Conquest. Gets Conquest to let him go, and then Eve comes in for a tag team. Mark obviously doesn't want Eve here because Mark is just trying to protect everyone. He wants to do it himself so nobody can possibly get hurt. He didn't want Oliver to come. He didn't want Eve to come. Conquest doesn't mind that Eve is here though because obviously he likes to fight and he wants to fight her now. Mark isn't going to allow this though. Like I told you, he keeps protecting her. He learns real soon he shouldn't have done that, but it's okay though. As the fight goes on between Eve and Conquest, she plates herself in atomic armor. This is going to give her a slight advantage against Conquest, which she already didn't have in the get-go. She's like able to manipulate him somehow, and then she just Green Lanterns him. It's crazy too because Eve is basically Green Lantern just in her own way at an atomic level. She can delete, create. There's atoms everywhere in the universe. She can manipulate the ones that are already existing. It does not matter. She starts beating up Conquest quite a bit here actually. She gets some good hits in, doing a bunch of damage, as much as she possibly could at least. Like, I mean, they was really moving here, bro. Conquest finally gets her, though, and starts comboing her, obviously. Then he takes her jaws off and pierces her right through the stomach. Classic Viltrumite move. Falls to the ground with a hole in her stomach. Obviously, this is going to make Mark just, Mark is going to go crazy here. Fast forward a little bit. Mark thinks she died, and then he gets really, really, really angry at Conquest. Mark probably didn't want to kill this man, but after he messed with Eve, I mean, it wrapped it up right there. They go for another clash and just ended up breaking each other's arms, Created a huge shockwave, though, just from that punch. Mark comes in, though, with another left hook. He's not letting this guy rest. He thinks Eve is dead at this point, so Mark takes a huge chunk of his neck off. Shockwave after shockwave from the clashing is actually crazy. But the craziest part happens next, when Rebirth Eve happens. He fully heals up entirely and helps out Mark defeat Conquest here. Mark was already going ham on him for what it was, but then he noticed that Eve was there. Eve saves Mark by sending a stray atom beam through him. He fully rips off the skin off of his body, just showing his muscle, and this is going to help Mark out a ton. Well, what exactly just happened there, right? Well, Eve's powers are actually a bit deeper than what they are. We all know she can manipulate atoms at every level pretty much, but she basically cannot die either. She is immortal, because anytime she is on the brink of death, whether it be someone killing her, poison, she's old, fell off a cliff, she exploded, she will always rebirth right before she is about to die. Fast forward a bit more. Mark loses his other hand, but then he just starts headbutting him repeatedly while he's on the ground, making sure that Conquest is dead. You could tell Mark developed a personal beef with this man. I mean, like, obviously he almost killed Eve. Even then, a lot of people would still think that Mark wouldn't try to kill this guy. Thankfully, they reunite on the ground while Eve is naked and Mark is beaten to shit. But they get to see another day as they beat the second strongest Viltrumite at the time. Now let's talk about what Eve actually should be able to do. Eve is able to create, delete, and manipulate the atoms around her. And there is nowhere in the universe where there's nothing made up of atoms. The oxygen's made up of atoms, you're made up of atoms, anything's made up of atoms. That being said, that blatantly admits to the fact that Eve is in control of everyone and everything around her. Now, she clearly stated at the end of this episode that she has limiters, and when she rebirths, all of those limiters are gone. With this being said, if this is true, imagine any of the things she could do while she's in that rebirth state to win the fight. See, in theory, let me give you an example. In this rebirth state, if she truly has no limiters at all, there's nothing on her range, there's nothing on the power to it, or anything like that, she could take the Earth's atmosphere, all the oxygen in it, and instantly turn it to a toxic gas that would kill every human on the planet. And this is just one of very many cool, wild things she could possibly do in that rebirth state. So you guys let me know. Do you think this is true? And if so, what do you guys think she could do?